Are you looking at building a mud house? Then you've got to know how to store your bricks to protect them. To protect them from what? To protect them from the sun. To protect it from the rain. And to protect them from termites. If you're looking at building a mud house, then you've come to the right place. First steps in always building a mud house is to build the mud bricks. And if you're interested in doing that, then take a look at the video at the link above and we'll show you how to actually make the mud bricks. But today we're here to talk about another topic, storing the mud bricks. Remember, it's unlikely that you will be producing the bricks and getting them ready exactly at the same time that you're building the house. So it's very, very possible that you will build the bricks and keep them in storage for a certain while and then use them when you're about to build the house. So let's take a look at what's the right way to actually store the bricks. So storing your mud bricks. Of course, the first most important question when it comes to storing your mud bricks is where do you want to store them? Each brick weighs a good 9 to 11 kilos in weight. So that's a heavy brick. You want to be moving them as little as possible. So you ideally want to put your mud brick storage area right next to where you'll actually be constructing the mud bricks. So you move them just one time after the drying process is over. Once again, if you want to know how to make the mud bricks, click on our other video up there in the link. Now, the second part is mud bricks, unlike other concrete bricks, are basically a little susceptible to the weather. So that means the sun and the rain isn't really good for them, which is why you really need to go about protecting your mud brick until you actually use it. And if you're wondering, but what happens once it's in the mud house? Does it not need to be protected? Actually, the mud brick is protected inside a mud house, because once you put it in the mud house, it's actually protected by layers of plastering, right? And once they're plastered, there's no way for the sun and the rain to actually get to the actual mud brick itself. So, back to our point here, how do we store our mud bricks? One of the issues that we encounter in Kanchanaburi in Thailand, where we are placed, is termites. And termites are a really big problem, which means they eat everything bio, including the rice husk that is inside the mud bricks. So for that reason, it's really important to have a base layer out here to actually protect your mud bricks. Your sheet covering on the floor is actually protecting the mud bricks from the termites. If you place them on the ground itself, the termites will come right through and eat all the rice husk in there, eventually ending up with a weak brick and possibly will break into pieces when you eventually have to use it maybe a few months later. So base layer, always good to have a sheet of something that prevents termites from getting in, right? The next is to realize that the best way to stack mud bricks is not like that, but vertically like that. And the reason for that is you want your mud bricks to have as less contact as possible with each other. If you have a mud brick like this and you end up taking the next mud brick and putting it on top of that, after some time, due to the moisture in the atmosphere, these mud bricks will start to stick to each other. When they stick to each other, eventually when you pick up the brick so that you can move it, you will either break the bricks in between or it just won't be able to separate the two. So this does happen, which is kind of why when you are storing the mud bricks, you want to store them vertically like that, right? And if you're using the 40 centimeters by 20 centimeters size that we're using, then you can go for 3 bricks, 1, 2, and 3 right over there. Oh, Mr. Lizard. Right, so you got 3 bricks there, and you want to stack the next one the other way, perpendicular to the ones below, right? There we go. So as you can see over here, we've got 6 bricks stacked up, 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, and they are set up perpendicularly. These are really good flat bricks, so they're not touching each other. Good space. So I've got my mud bricks stacked 2 levels high, and this can go as high up as your chest. Obviously it can go higher than that, but just remember that when you're working with the mud bricks and you want to move them around, it becomes a lot more difficult if that much weight, 10 kilos of weight, is up there to pick up. So I've got the mud bricks to a level that I'm happy with. This is just at about just below my chest level, right? And now comes the last most important part, which is to protect the mud bricks from the rain and from the sun. And for that, you will need a plastic sheet, any kind of sheet that is waterproof, right? And you want to put it over the top and cover it up just like that. Of course, ideally, if you can cover all sides all the way down, that would be perfect. But the basic most important is to prevent the rain from falling from the top itself. And of course, the other more important thing is to have heavy weights that you can put on top of right over there, so that you can protect your mud bricks for until you need them to build your mud house. So I'm going to take a moment to explain to you guys why it's important to really plan where you're going to get the mud from, and where you're going to build the bricks, and where you're going to store the bricks, and where you're going to build a house. So I'm going to show this to you guys in one complete piece, right? So if you come around here, you can see that this was our mud brick pit. This is where we built, well, this is all the mud that we dug out from here to produce the bricks, right? So we've dug all the bricks of mud over from here. The thing that we needed externally from the outside world was rice husk. So we had lots and lots of rice husk piled up over here, right? And all that was bought in by truck from the nearby rice mill, in which we could drive the car down here and then put our rice husk here, and then we could just dump the rice husk over there, right? After which, once we mixed the mud and rice husk over there, we then used these ladders, frames, designs, this right here, right? 7 bricks at a time, and we laid them out right here, all the way, starting from there, all the way till the end of the road. And we had about 1,000 bricks out here at one point. Once they were done, we stacked them up right over here. All this was all stacked up over here. This whole area was covered with bricks. And eventually we went ahead and built our actual mud house, right? So that explains all of it. And it's really important to remember that you've got to think about these things, because otherwise it's a lot of work moving these bricks around. Remember, they weigh about 8 to 10 kilos. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of actually building your mud house.